Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Great to see you.
And to see you.
I'm excited, as always, to talk. I like talking to you on and off podcast cameras and stuff. So, congratulations as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Professor Kit de Waal.
I'm interested to know just more about what that means and how you become one.
I don't know how you become one. I applied for something called a writer in residence at Leicester University, which means basically they pay you to write. Now, what it means for the university is...
Just come a little bit closer to that mic.
What it means for the university is that you have a writing output, and they can use that writing output to go up the university ranking. So they can say, look at what a good university are. We've got Kit de Waal. She's got a book out. So they use me for my name. I use them for the office to get paid and whatever. So I applied for a writer in residence and they said it was a professorship. So I was like, that's cool. So I write for the university. I'll do some teaching at the University of Leicester, do some masterclasses, run the literary festival, but also write, mostly write.
What do you teach now?
Creative writing.
Creative writing.
How to be a creative writer, all the different aspects of the craft. So I might do a masterclass on how to edit your work. I might do one on research, when to do it, when to stop, when it's an excuse. I do one on flash fiction, on writing paragraphs, on the 3-act structure, on loads of stuff, aspects of the craft, mostly. Not always the craft, sometimes it's how to be a writer, what to do, how to get the job done, what's going to get in your way, how you're going to feel about your work, rejection, those kinds of things.
Because the 3-act structure, like we've spoke about this, is known, right? But isn't creation quite subjective? So doesn't it become a difficult thing to talk about? Or is there a path, strategy, process that someone can take to become a creator?
Well, writing is like any creative endeavour. So there are people, genuinely, who are born with a talent for it. So you could say... the one I liken it to the most would be a chef. However, it could be a carpenter, it could be anything, any creative work. So if you're a chef, there are some people who've never read a cookery book in their lives, but they know how to do it. They know how to cook fantastic curry or roast beef. But I guarantee you, however they think they didn't learn it, they learnt it somewhere. They learnt it watching their mom. They learned it from working in a kitchen as a washer-up or whatever. You learn it with your taste buds. Why do I like that? Why does that taste nice? Is this been fried? Has it been boiled? Has it been baked? Has it been broiled? Has it been, is it slightly burnt? Is it slightly too salty? So you start to deconstruct a dish and you go, if I made that, I'd put more salt in it. I wouldn't put broccoli with it. I would put something sour with it. So you start to interrogate something that you love. That's learning the craft, whether you've got help to do that interrogation, somebody like me, or whether you're just doing it because it's your interest. But somewhere along the line, you will learn the craft of your chosen endeavour. And you can't do it without learning the craft. It would be like saying, I want to be a Michelin-starred chef. What I'm going to do is I'm going to eat McDonald's. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to interrogate any food. I'm not going to dissect any food. I'm not going to try anything different. But I'm going to be a great chef. Very unlikely, because you have no palate. You have no way of knowing what is good, what is bad. If you're a writer and you don't read and you don't try to write, you don't know how to make someone laugh on page 74. You don't know why I was scared at the end. You don't know what a bad ending feels like to read. But if you do the work, learn the craft, whatever it is, like I say, it could be a carpenter, it could be a tailor, doesn't matter. You have to learn the craft.
Yeah, we had Paul Foster, Michelin star chef, last week, saying a similar thing. Like it was in his environment from when he was a young lad, so he was around cooking. But then, I think you get interest in life, don't you? And but I think they only become passions when you deepen.
Yes.
So there's things that have come along in my life that become interests, and I think I'm really interested until it's time to really do the work.
Yes.
And then it's like distractions, I choose to do this instead.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of deepens. But when we're teaching creation, like something that like this is what the main thing I want to speak to you about today, because there's a lot of guys out there who have ideas and concepts and ideas. We all do, right? Ideas all come to us. What is like an idea? Like where do you believe it comes from? And then how do you create with ideas? Like, do you work hard
to get your ideas?
Produce ideas, or do you let them come to you and then work hard to turn them into something?
Me personally, I let them come to me. Now, if I was, that's because of the type of thing I write. So I write really what's called the character-driven novel. In other words, this is all about a person's journey. So the difference between a character-driven novel and a plot-driven novel is, does something happen to somebody or does something happen? So, for example, character-driven novel, I'm trying to think of one that your listeners might know, but you probably don't know, Remains of the Day. But anyway, a character-driven novel is about somebody that walks through an experience or walks through their life. Things happen to them, and the point of the book, or you could even say film, is how do they change? Do they change? What effect does those events have on that person? That's a character-driven novel. That's what I write. A plot-driven novel is the sort of novel where you go, wonder what will happen, wonder what will happen, wonder what will happen, wonder what will happen, all the time. So typical character-driven novel would be anything Sherlock Holmes, anything Agatha Christie. It's not about Poirot, because Poirot doesn't change from one week to the next. Poirot solves the crime. Sherlock Holmes solves the crime. These books are not about Sherlock Holmes changing, because the whole point of Sherlock Holmes books is he doesn't change. But what the book is about is the mystery. How's it going to be solved? Who did it? If you write a plot-driven novel, you absolutely have to work very hard on the idea, because it's got to have twists and turns. It's got to have a red herring. It's got to have a baddie. It's got to have mystery. It's got to have intrigue. It's got to have a surprising ending. You've got to work really hard at your plot. With a character-driven novel, you've absolutely got to know your guy or woman. You've got to know them. What makes them tick? Where were they born? Have they got brothers and sisters? You have to know. All that work that you do goes into knowing a person, not knowing a plot.
So this is where I get a bit confused about the working hard thing. You know, when you say you have to work hard on those things, what does that mean? Like, what do you do to work hard? Do you write lots of different outcomes? Do you sit and think hard? Do you dream and ponder hard? Do you just give it all your like, how do you work hard at that?
So for me personally, I will, always my ideas come from a song. So I'll be listening to a song. Typical example, the first novel I ever wrote, it was a song by MJ Cole, a house song, not even my thing I like, but there was a line in it, and this woman said, "I could be your main squeeze." And I just hit the motorway. And when I got home, which was about an hour later, I had the plot to a novel, because I just thought, what's that mean to be your main squeeze? That means I'm your girlfriend, but I'm your main girlfriend. That means there's other girlfriends. And then you start, this 5 or 6 words become a world. Who is the guy that she's saying this to? Where does he live? What's their background? And so the working hard is working out the relationship. And then, I say that I had the plot. Obviously, I've got the bones of a plot. What I haven't got is, where is this book going? And then I will talk about it. I will dream about it. I'll think about it. It becomes your north. You know, like when you've got a magnet and it goes round and it's always looking for north.
Yeah.
And it'll always go to north, north, north. So I would be, any gap, any space in my life, it was my north. My idea, my person, my man, my woman. Is he going to kill her? When's he going to kill her? How's he going to kill her? Is there a car? And then all of a sudden, and I haven't written a word at this point. I haven't written a single word. Then that might last 9 months. That thinking, and in those 9 months, I might write 1,000 words of a character study. Or I might take a photo of a Jensen Interceptor and I go, that's the car. I might go to a cafe and I might look at someone's shoes and I've got her shoes. All the time I'm thinking, I'm populating my world with different people, with lines. I can remember talking to my friend. The book I'm writing next. I was talking to my friend, and she's Irish, and she said, where you and I might say at the end of the day he was a bad guy, she says between the jigs and reels. And I was like, I'm so having that phrase. I loved it. She was saying between the jigs and reels, it didn't work out. And I just thought it's such a great phrase. So I steal, like a magpie, I'll steal them shoes, that coat, that car, that winter's day, that house, until I've assembled everything I need to write, and then I'm off.
That's fascinating, because in like the mental health world, we would talk about the idea of like being present, presentism, like, focus on what's in front of you and nothing else. Sounds like as a fictional writer, it's like you're always like wondering, pondering, thinking. Like, do you find it hard to be present, like in any moments of your life when there's so many inspirations around you? Like, are you always on the lookout? It sounds like high alert.
If I'm working on something, no. I mean, I'm 68,000 words into a novel at the moment, and I don't want any other influences. I don't want to see a pair of shoes that go in that novel. I'm scared to see a pair of shoes because I've got my shoes. So I'm now just thinking about that all the time. As for being present, I did some mindfulness this morning, and I knew I was coming here, and I was thinking, if I talk to Alex, I might. And I'm going, come back to the present. It's very hard to harness your imagination. Very, very difficult. I don't find it hard to be present when I'm writing. So if I'm writing, I am there. I'm in my work, and I forget time. I forget to go to the toilet. Sometimes I'm jigging around on my seat for like an hour because I cannot come out of the scene. I know I've got something, and I have to stay in the scene till the end.
Is that being present? So if our mind's somewhere else, like when you say you're in it, you mean you're so far away from the reality that's in front of you?
Yes.
Like, is your mind really like, so you're with the character?
With my characters.
Yeah.
I'm present in the work. And I'm not present in the room that I'm working in, not at all. But I can be if I'm, for example, if I'm talking about writing. If I'm talking to someone about a scene, I'm so alive. I've never felt so alive as when I'm talking about whatever I'm writing. It's so real to me.
Yeah, which is amazing to hear, because like most people will never experience that. Although, do they? Is that just daydreaming? But you seem to question everything much further. So like you had an idea on your way back home, and it's like then you asked another 50 questions.
Yes.
I think most people just stop at that point. And again, everyone's different. Not everyone's going to want to question that. But is that at the roots of creativity, just continuous digging, digging?
Yes.
Or is it continuous listening?
It's both. I think you have to be present to the world, to influences, especially if you're in that dream state where you're looking for inspiration. People talk about writer's block, for example. Writer's block's where you've got the white page, you've got the pen, and there's nothing. There is nothing. The tank is dry. Your mind is a blank. I've never had it because I do exercises, and this is another thing. I mean, you must know about this. Exercises that train your mind to stay alert, to stay active, to stay open. So if you never, if you don't exercise the part of your mind that receives information, that acts on information, that colours in the pages, you can feel stale. So I do exercises all the time with people I know or on my own, where I'll just, I might see that very cold looking piece of equipment there, and I'll go, I've got to give it a name. That's called Brian. Who's Brian? And then I'll just go, who is Brian? He's a straight guy. He doesn't like to blah, 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 whatever the exercise is. But you have to exercise your brain.
Do you consider yourself talented?
Yes.
You do. When was that always there, or was that something that you've trained?
As regards creativity,
Like I've asked you 10 years ago, are you a talented writer?
Oh, no.
No. So
I've worked at it. Yeah. I've worked at it. So maybe 10 years ago, yes. Maybe 10 years ago would have been. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, no.
Okay, so you've worked that trait. So your talent has come through the process of just
through hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've got to have a bit. You've got to have a bit of raw stuff and desire. But as you know, from being a personal trainer, hard work will always trump talent. Always, always, always. So you can be 30% talented, 70% hard work, or you can be 80% talented but a lazy git. That's not going to serve you. You need to put the work in. And if you have got a tiny bit of talent and you work hard, you will trump the lazy git every time.
Yeah, writing's a bit different. So if we were thinking sport, so
Yeah.
if there was a young lad who had a superb work rate and passion for basketball, but he was 5'5",
Yes.
and you kind of like, look, sorry, like your genetic makeup is, you just, these guys are 6'6". I'm sorry,
Yes.
it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not built that way.
Yes.
Is there limitations on creative work in terms of writing then, or because what I do know is everyone can get better at
Yes.
anything they choose to get better at.
Yes.
But where does the limit go for writers? What's the difference apart from hard work between those great writers and those good writers?
You do have to have a desire you have to be curious. I think the curiosity about the world, the curiosity about what makes people tick, for me, is the difference. Now, someone else might say, if you're writing thrillers, crime thrillers, you don't particularly have to have a curiosity about people, not necessarily, but you really have to have a curiosity about how people might behave in a certain situation to accomplish the crime. For me, mine is much more about the inner workings of people, pain. I really like to investigate pain, why people, what crushes people, how people might recover. You have to be endlessly curious about that to write what I write, or the sort of thing that I write. And I mean, there's a really good new writer called Mick Herron, and he's right. It's a bit like John le Carré. You've heard of John le Carré, right? So he's a bit like John le Carré. So he writes these MI5 type thrillers, really meticulously crafted, and great human motivation. I mean, that's the gold standard. You want all the clever plot points, a bit like Bourne maybe, but you also want the damaged people doing them. Do you know what I mean? That's like heaven. If you want an idea of something that's superbly crafted and is all about human nature, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold,
Okay.
by John le Carré. It's a masterclass, absolute masterclass in plot and character, acting as one, to be superb.
What drives you to tap into that kind of dark side and creativity then? What is your driver to go down that route?
Nobody ever wrote a successful book about a happy person. It's not funny, it's not interesting, certainly not funny. But Romeo and Juliet. So Romeo meets Juliet. He really loves her. She really loves him. Their parents get on. That's not a book. You need to have conflict. Where's the conflict? Where's the tension? Where's the damage? Where's the pain? There's always pain in a successful novel. Always. There has to be. Even if it's the pain of not getting what you want.
And that's just because human experience, like because that's an internal dialogue in this?
Because we're just not interested in the happy ending. The happy ending has to come, I don't know, but the happy ending has to come after the pain, after the journey. You can have a journey to your happy ending. What you can't have is nothing in your way, nothing to stop you getting what you want. We do not find that interesting.
People like a happy ending though, don't they?
People love a happy ending. Yeah. I mean,
some people, right?
Yeah, I like a sort of happy ending. I like the bittersweet ending.
Yeah, Manchester by the Sea. Last night,
perfect.
I watched that again. It's like it's not a happy ending at all, but
no,
it's probably better than it was at the start.
What it is redemption. So it might not be happy, ha ha, happy, oh, they sail away in the sunset. What it might be is just, it's the right ending as opposed to the happy ending. Sad endings also really interesting, but Manchester by the Sea is after a tremendous amount of pain that this man goes through. You know he's not fighting in pubs anymore. You know that he's probably not going to have a belly laugh for the rest of his life, or he might have one, but the pain has subsided. He's forgiven himself. He has this new boy. He has this new point about being alive. He's the pain of losing his children, his destruction of his marriage, blah, blah, blah. It all remains. But he's found a way to exist beyond the pain. And that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, it is. I watched it last night in preparation for this because it's one of those films that I'm like, I can't work out why it's so brilliant. You probably know exactly why it's so brilliant. I'm still at a stage of breaking things down and saying, why do I love this film? Why do I like this character?
Yes.
Because he shouldn't be that likeable. There's empathy there for
Yeah.
him, but there's a genuine feeling towards him. Like, I like him. I want him to get through this.
Yes.
I want him to get better. I want him to chat to this woman and form a new relationship. You know he's not going to, but there's that want for him to. It's the hero's journey, I guess, isn't it?
It is the hero's journey, and it's also it's a really human film. You know, there's no bad guys. You know, he meets his ex-wife. She tries to talk to him to say, "Look, I'm okay." She's really saying, "Forgive yourself. I've got a new baby. I've got a new relationship." She wants him, and he cannot hear it. He cannot bear it. It's awful for him to have that. And that kind of humanity where there's no bad guy. There's no bad guy in the whole film. You know, like you look at we talked about protagonist, antagonist. Yeah. Now, who's the antagonist in the film? Him. Mm-hmm. He's his own worst enemy. Yeah. He's the antagonist. I have to forgive myself. There's no one's giving him grief. Everyone's saying, I hope you get better. His brother hopes he gets better. His wife hopes he gets better. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants him to heal. He can't heal. He's his own antagonist, and he defeats the antagonist in the end. And that is beautiful. I mean, it's heaven.
Yeah, but there's also some acceptance that the battle's going to continue. Do you not think? Like,
yes.
Do you not feel like that? Like watching that film, like he's come to terms with the fact that he neglected something and his children died. He will never ever be the person that left his kids and went to the shop. Yeah. Never. That's gone. It's over. He'll never be happy-go-lucky. He'll never have that release and freedom to be who he really is. He'll carry that burden for the rest of his life. But it won't be as heavy, or he will maybe build muscles to carry it. Yeah. Well, they always say people relate more to struggle. And it must tap into the human psyche a little bit, because if you look through people's lives, is everyone happy? No. But does everyone struggle at times? Yeah. So I think that's the common denominator. We're all going to taste it, aren't we? Yes. We're all going to taste pain. You don't get a choice.
You do not get a choice.
You can't go on a self-development path that eliminates pain.
No.
People do chase this permanent state of happiness. I spoke about this with Matty the other day. I think people do. That's why they buy so much shit. Why they drive such fast cars, and they're always want more. Yeah. Permanent.
And the thing, I think what we chase is the buzz. We don't want peace as much as, oh, wow. If you go after the peak all the time, which you get from the new thing, from sex, from drink, from drugs, it's a peak. It's like a shot of something. That's often what we crave. I know I do. I might go shopping online and I end up with a basket with about £4,000 in it. I don't want anything in there, but I've had a little shot of dopamine when I've added it to the basket. Oh, I like that, I'm going to buy that. Oh, I like that, I'm going to buy that. That's like feeding that nonsense. Beyond that is a contentment. It's a level thing. It might modulate slightly, but it's level. It's not great peaks of happiness and then the slumps. And very often we're not chasing the calm waters. We're chasing the ride. Do you know what I mean? And I think the calm waters is what it's all about. I rang my sister yesterday, and I speak to her maybe once every couple of weeks, and I said to her, "What's new?" And she said, "Nothing, it's great." And she calls it dry. She says, "My life's dry." And it is dry. And she says, "My life's dry, it's great." Because she knows most of the time drama is pain. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of pain on the other side of drama. The new relationship becomes the old relationship. The up becomes the down. So that sort of levelling out is, to me, what to strive for. The calmness and the peace.
Yeah, but for me, everything's polar. So, I want to taste everything. I don't want calm. Not all the time. For me, that would that would make me feel alive. So let's have a look at My Name is Leon, right?
Yes.
I'm guessing that's one of your biggest accomplishments in life.
Yeah.
But we could say that like that the payoff was, this tiny part of the journey. The rest was you writing, staying up late, working hard, getting edits back saying, this isn't good enough, do it again. So you could look at it and go, well, it was 90% really fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I wanted to quit.
Yes.
And I got this from it. I always find the best things in my life are actually, they come after a big load of resistance or challenge or internal conflict, internal struggle. It's that I like overcoming.
Yes.
That's the buzz for me.
Yes.
Now, the thing with short-term buzzes is you don't have to work hard to get them.
No.
So I can go and get a beer right now.
Yes.
Boom. I'm good.
Yes.
A few minutes.
Yes.
It's instant. I can get it now. I don't have to work hard for it.
Yes.
Anything really worth having, I don't get that instant fix.
No.
It's like, okay, do the work for 3 fucking years.
Yeah.
Then you'll get your reward.
Totally.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that's a hard lesson. I listened to a podcast last night, which was exactly about that. And it was saying, it was all about how to get the long-term rewards. And this guy was saying, make a commitment to your future self, which I'd never thought about before. Like, don't do it for me now, I want the cake. For your future self does not want the cake. Your future self is saying, don't eat the fucking cake. And so it's saying, make the commitment to that person, which was a really lovely way of thinking about it. I've only listened to half of it so far, but it was very, very good. And that is very similar to writing, to creativity, because you're not very good. No one's good to begin with. But you say, do I want to have that in 3 years? Do I want to have that book in the shops in 3 years? Do I want to be working in that restaurant in 3 years, or to have made that table in 3 years? The work begins now. But resistance and pain is not necessarily anti-calm waters to me. That's, once you get used to the fact that it's hard work, you get used to the struggle and understand that at the other end of the struggle there's payoff, it stops being so painful. It's like the book I'm writing at the moment, so it's a reach for me. It's hard. It's harder than most of the other books I've written because the structure's complicated. And I have faith that I'm going to solve it. I haven't solved it. It's not right at all. And it's going to take so much jiggery-pokery to get this thing great that it's painful at the moment. I just want it done. I want the answer. I haven't got the answer. So that to me is all part of the calm waters. The easy thing to do is to either not do it or say, do you know what, I'm going to change the structure to make it easy on myself. I'm not going to do that because if I solve that problem, that book's going to be fucking great. It'll be good if I don't solve the problem, but it'll be great if I solve the problem. Yeah,
that makes total sense to me. But that's testament to your ability and level of work, right? That's why you're so good at what you do. Like you say, 10 years ago, you might have been that person that was like, how can I make it easier?
Yes.
How can I make it easier? I had a chat with a young lad this morning, and he was asking the wrong questions. It was like, why is it, and you've told me this, when I say, Mandy, why is writing so fucking hard? And you're like, Alex, you're asking the wrong question. It's hard because it's hard. The moment you accept it's hard, it becomes not as hard.
Yes.
And it's like, well, that makes sense.
Yes.
But like hearing it and then truly understanding it are two totally different things.
Totally.
Do you have to have belief that what you're doing is worth it? So what I mean by that is, if you're starting off on a project, and this could be writing or anything, and let's take a guy who's trying to get into good shape. Do you think from the offset he really needs to believe that he can do it to make that gym session, just that one gym session each day, worth it? Because with writing, for me, there's not enough belief that I can write something good. So when I come down to sit and do the work, I'm like, well, this is a fucking waste of time, Alex.
Yeah.
So I'm good at the habit and discipline of getting there, but when I get there, my heart's not truly in it because I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yes.
You're not going to write shit.
Yes. I don't know the answer to that question. I think you have to show up enough. You will always get better if you show up. Even if you're not a very good writer and you maybe haven't got very much talent, if you show up and do the work, do the exercises, work on the craft, you will definitely get better. You may not be Charles Bukowski at the end, but you will be a better writer. So it's all about... And I did a MA in creative writing when I was 51, And I can honestly say half of the people in my class were not great writers at all. And they were doing an MA in creative writing. They all got better. Some of them have got published. A lot of them haven't. And they're competent, all of them competent writers. They may not have the magic. I think it's slightly different with getting into shape, because I don't see that as being impossible for anybody if they do the work. It's not like you need a flair to get in. You've just got to do that. Keep doing the right thing. The results will come. I think you can keep doing the right thing as a writer, and some results will come. Not, anybody could have a beautiful body if they put in enough work. Do you know what I mean? I think, as a bodybuilder.
I know exactly what you mean. One of my favourite writers, Stephen Pressfield, 20 years before he became published, he did the work every single day. But it's really important, I think, for people to understand that they can get better at things.
Yes.
I think the older you get as well, we can get stuck in our ways where we don't feel like we can get better at anything. So if you can't be a Kit de Waal who writes, "My name is Leon, I'm not going to start." And that can often put us off.
Yes.
So this comparison game can kill you. But so for example, you're one of my inspirations as a writer, but if I also compare myself to you too much, I ain't starting.
Totally. I've got my heroes I do not compare myself with. I'll be like, okay, like there's a writer called Sebastian Barry. Poetry. I mean, I remember, this is very recently, I started a book of his. And I was writing my memoir at the time, so I don't want to read... if I'm writing memoir, I won't read memoir. Okay. If I'm writing fiction, I'll read something else. So I thought, I'll read Sebastian Barry. So pick up this book. Audiobook. I'm sitting up in bed, audiobook. And I think I got maybe 200 words. I had to turn it off because I was thinking, oh no, he's really good. What am I doing? Don't listen to it. Because it'll crush you, absolutely crush you. It was one phrase. He talked about this little boy, and he described him as a scrap of a song, and I was like, no, that's too good.
Well, the exact same thing happened without warning only sometimes. That's why I put it down.
Yeah.
One, I was like, well, I'm speaking to Kit tomorrow. I'm like, can I even hold conversation with Kit? And second was like, how have you met? Like, I looked at the language you used, and I understood it, but I couldn't understand how you pieced it together so brilliantly. I was like, because I'll never be able, or I can't envision myself ever being able to do that. Even though, if I dedicate 20 years every single day, who knows? Yeah. But the gap seems so big. Yeah. And this is what a lot of the work is, isn't it? It's chunking it down whilst being able to tailgate it to the long-term outcome. Yeah. And that's hard because they're polars.
They're total polars. But I teach creative writing to students of all abilities. And there's one boy, young man I should say, he's 22, and I think he's a genius. I read his work and I was like, oh my God. And I was meeting with him to talk about his work, and I had to just stop myself gushing. Oh my God, the way he's done that. And I thought, no, that's not helpful to him. He doesn't, I did say it was absolutely brilliant, but I did get him to interrogate how he'd done it so he can repeat it, because maybe this was just fluke or whatever, but great. Other writers, not so good, and they need a lot of help. Now, if they compare themselves to him, if they compare to themselves, they wouldn't, why bother? Do you know what I mean? He's 22, he's a genius. I'm 22, I can just about hold it together. But what they can be is them. And you will never be Kit de Waal, I will never be Sebastian Barry, but you will be you. And I've read work of yours, where I've said, there's Alex in that. There's Alex. Alex has now stopped trying to be a writer and write something literary and clever and the right words. And you wrote something that I read and I was like, that's it. There's great writing. There's Alex's voice. There's Alex's experience. Something you probably didn't think much about writing. You probably weren't writing this piece of writing going, now shall I use that word thorough or shall I use however? You don't do it because it's coming from the gut. This is where Alex doesn't have to do any work because Alex is on the page. And that's the only thing that you have that I haven't got. The only thing I have got that Sebastian Barry hasn't got is how I see the world. the angle at which I see the world, the experiences that have happened to you that haven't happened to me. That's what you've got. And if you write down those things that hurt, Charles Bukowski, your hero, says, find what you love and let it kill you. And that's what you've got to do in your writing. You've got to find the pain. Find what hurts me, write it down. You cannot go wrong. Find what you care about, write it down. You cannot go wrong. Not care about in the intellectual sense. Something that's moved you so much that you felt the gut move, write that thing down. And almost always there's some gem beauty in there.
Is the skill being able to see that it's that though? So for example, if your USP is you, like everyone's USP is you, do you believe that you have to have some form of self-love or respect for you to even think that what you've got to say is worthy? So that's my challenge right there. Like, okay, I could be myself, but myself isn't good enough.
Yes, I think you do have to believe that you have to. That's not necessarily your, I mean, it is your journey, but it's also the journey of society that values everyone's experiences. So the publishing industry, for example, is extremely middle class. It's extremely privileged. The publishing industry still values the historical novel, the Jane Austen, all the rest of it. They value that way of writing. Less do they value the working class story. Less do they value the simple story. They do value it, but not as much. So society has to value what happens to young men. It has to value what happens if you're poor, if you're abused, all of those things. We have to value the experience of people when they say that. And of course, we have to value our own experience. We have to not think, who am I? I don't, left school at 14, or I'm just a builder, or whatever. All the time you're saying, I'm just a, you're devaluing yourself. But if you think to yourself, that happened to me and it's important, it might just be important for me to write it down and give it to someone. It doesn't have to end up in Waterstones. It just has to be down on the page so that you have articulated something important about yourself. Obviously, you hope it will end up in Waterstones if you're a writer and you're an ambitious writer. But first of all, you have to say, I've got something to say, even if no one else sees it, and then write it from the gut without trying to be the writer. Just try and get it on the page.
Have you ever experienced self-doubt where someone's belief in you has offset some of it? So, like, did you have someone that was telling you that, like, you're good, just keep going, and that might have been the difference between you getting across the line or not? Or was this all internal?
Most of mine was internal. I had a lot of people. Well, I had one very important person tell me I was shit.
In a constructive way, or
no,
oh.
No. So it's I had an agent before this agent, and she first of all liked my first novel, and she said, "Oh, we'll get this published." So she took my first novel. She couldn't get it published, so she said, "Look, write another novel. We'll get that one published, and then we'll do the first one second." So I wrote my second novel. It took me 2 years. The first one had taken me 5 years. So we're 7 years on now. And I send it to her. Don't hear anything for ages. And then she sends me an email. She says, come down to London. We can talk about it. And I'm like, that's it. And also the London Book Fair was on. Now, the London Book Fair is a massive event where they sell books. And
you mean she was calling to say you've
well,
made it?
It had just finished. So
Yeah.
the London Book Fair's just finished.
Right.
Then she sends me an email saying, come down, I want to speak to you. And I'm like, yeah, man.
Good news.
I've done it. This is it. I was so happy. So I go down to London, sit in her office, and she takes the manuscript and she practically throws it on the table in front of me and she says, this isn't it. And I went, oh, right, okay. And she said, it's this, it's that, When I said write another novel, this is not what I meant. I mean, it was just gut-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching. And she then told me she was going on maternity leave, and with the magic words, don't wait for me, which means I'm sacking you. Now, not many people get sacked by their agent. Really and truly, it's unusual. So there's me, no agent, 2 books that are no good, and it really, really hurt me.
Looking back, was she right?
Was she right? I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think she was right. I think, well, put it this way, she may have been right that it wasn't it. There's good things in that novel, and that's not the way to say it to someone. That's not the way to say. She did not spur me on to write. It looks like after that I go away and write my best novel. No. What I did is I went away and nearly crumbled. Very nearly crumbled. That's not, I don't believe in that tough love shit. Tell someone they're shit and if they're any good they'll rise above it. No. My view is you encourage people. You might say, this book isn't going to work because of X, Y, Z, but what I can look at from your 2 novels, you've got this in that, you've got that in that, do less of this, do more of that, go away and write another one. That's how I would encourage people. I don't like that tough love, break you down to build you up, because not everyone will be built up. And there might be some really talented people who have had that shit said to them and they've said, okay, I can't do it. I don't like it. I think it's very, very destructive. Certainly being on the other end of it.
I think if everyone's journey, especially a successful one, there's always a turning back point where you could go back. That sounds like it might have been your chance to go, I'm done with this.
I was done with it for quite a while.
But saying that, like, do you not go back and thank her and say you were a great teacher to me and
No.
Like, do you not at all?
No.
Do you even think that? Like, I mean, look at these books in front of us.
No.
Like,
No.
They're written now, right?
No.
Do you think the same outcome would have happened if she'd have gone, this is good, but we can just tailor it a little bit? Because your path would be completely different.
It would have been different, but I could never thank her for nearly destroying my dream. This is what I did thank her for, because I've seen her. Obviously, the publishing industry is really small. I've seen her many times since. And I thanked her for what she gave me when she took me on as an agent. She made me think I could do it. That's what I thank her for. She nearly destroyed me, but she did by taking me on when I was nobody. She made me, and it's a really, really good agency. I thought, oh my God, I've got an agent. And I felt great. Then I felt terrible. So, no, I don't thank her for it.
I bet she's gutted now.
I bet she's gutted now. She would be gutted now.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but I bet that happens in all agencies, right? They let brilliant people through the gaps, right?
Yeah. All the time. Because she didn't see me. She didn't see me as a writer. She didn't see what I was trying to do, or it just wasn't a good fit. Then, of course, I go to a new agent who is a woman more or less of my age, who took it on holiday with her, read it. I think she asked me to put in a paragraph, and then she sent it out to the publishers. A different approach completely.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Have you seen the Freddie Mercury film?
Yes.
Queen? Amazing, right? Do you remember when they did Bohemian Rhapsody and they took it to, and they were like, it's 7 minutes long. There's opera in it, there's rock. What the fuck is this?
Absolutely.
And Queen were like, no. They stood by it and they went, no, this is good.
Absolutely.
And I thought, isn't that amazing to have that much belief in your work?
Totally.
You've got these experts.
But bear in mind, what they had, those people that had the faith in their work, is they'd done the work. Why could they put opera in it? Because they're fucking geniuses. Why could they marry it with rock? How could Freddie Mercury sing? Because he's got that beautiful voice. So they've put the work into creating this hybrid madness that is beautiful. They haven't sat down with the guitar that they bought last week and gone, I know it sounds shit, but it's really good. So they've done the work, and then you produce the goods.
Oh, you're so right. I was going to talk to you about this, but it's just perfect timing now. I wanted to ask you about the link between self-worth and effort. So I've been in the mental health development game for years, and I keep digging and digging and digging. And it's actually more obvious than I've realised. When I'm putting in effort, regardless of outcome, I feel good about myself.
Yes.
If I'm trying hard, if I'm giving my best, even if my best is not worthy of a published book, that still overrides having a published book versus me getting away with shitty stuff and bad behaviour. So I think it's a huge link between that and how you feel about yourself. If you've shown up every day and done your best at something, you feel you put your head on the pillow at night, and you feel alright about yourself.
Totally. And I think what's really hard for people, and I've seen this a number of times, is when they have shown up and done the work and had been rejected.
Well, that's
very
the most
hard.
painful thing when you try. But this is why people don't often pursue their dreams and give it their all, because
Yes.
it's so painful if you do your best and still get rejected.
Absolutely.
Whereas if I don't get my book published, I know I haven't tried that hard.
Yes.
So I can turn around and go, well, that's why I didn't try that hard.
Yeah.
If I give everything, spill my guts onto the page for 2 years, 3 years, and then the publisher says, this is fucking terrible.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It's a burn. That's what I had.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing more than to be published. Nothing. I was just so, it was my dream. It was my life's dream. And the way she said it, I remember going home and I was sitting in the garden crying, and my then husband came home from work and he said, God, what's happened? And I told him exactly what I've just said. And he went, is that bad? And I was like, wow, dude, is that bad? My heart is broken. Is that bad? And it was a real moment with me. Yes, it's fucking bad. Yes, it's bad. It's as bad as it gets. Because she has told me, and I really valued her opinion, I'm not good enough to ever get published. That's what I thought. I put everything into those 2 books. Every idea I'd had, every character, worked on it, slogged in, done 24 drafts of each one, at least. And I've got this thing and it's like great and it's singing. And it was such an up going down to London. It was such a crash to come back. And I genuinely thought, well, that's it. I'll have to find something else to do. I'll take up flower arranging because I can't do that thing. Can't do what I want to do. Can't be who I want to be.
So I'm going to challenge you again on this one, though. Do you not look back and think that added a layer of mental resilience and toughness to your game now? Therefore, it was part of the journey that, as shit as it was, you might have had to taste it and experience that rejection. Because I'm guessing most writers, it might have been the way she delivered the message, but there's heartache in writing, right? Rejection.
Yes, rejection is definitely part of the journey. Yeah. Absolutely, definitely. And I do tell this story all the time to my MA students when I'm teaching them.
That's why I love hearing it.
Yeah.
And I've come back to it 3 times now.
Yeah.
I like hearing that time someone says you're not good enough to write.
Totally.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't like it. I think it's a stark example. So that's quite an unusual journey of rejection in the publishing industry. That's really quite unusual.
Right.
This is normally what happens. You write a couple of short stories that don't get anywhere, and you think, oh, I'll write a novel, and then that novel doesn't get anywhere. And when I say doesn't get anywhere, this is what happens. You haven't even got an agent. So no, you send it to an agent. It goes into what's called a slush pile, which is like 400 books that they're just waiting to be read, and it never gets read in the slush pile. And about 3 months later, the agent sends you a generic 3-line email. Sorry, no. And then you send it to another agent, and that goes on for 3 years. All the time you're writing your next novel, that goes to a slush pile. And let's say you get an agent, and the agent goes, oh, I might be able to sell this. They send it to a publisher, and the publisher goes, we really like it, but it's not for us. It's much more slow burn. The rejection is slow and painful. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's not the stab in the heart like I had. It's the slow destruction of your dream. That's much more common. The terrible thing I had is really unusual.
Yeah, I think that's what's appealing. It's quite brutal.
It's brutal.
Therefore, I see it as a bigger setback and a bigger obstacle overcome.
It felt like a massive obstacle.
Yeah, but that's also what's inspiring from an outsider's point.
Yes, from an outsider's point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I think it's, you almost crumbled, you said.
Oh, I think I did crumble.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't write for months. And I just thought to myself, that's not entirely true, because they were my 2 novels and I was writing short stories. I'd always written short stories, and I'd had some success with short stories. I'd won a couple of competitions. So I thought, that's it. I can't write novels. I'll just have to write the short stories. I'll enter them occasionally to a competition. I might come 2nd or 3rd. And I thought that would be my life as a writer. And that's fine, for lots of people. Not for me. That's not what I wanted. I wanted my book in Waterstones. I wanted my book in Waterstones on the 3 for 2 table, and that's what I was going to have.
I know, but you're just telling me the thing that I love most. I'm like, yeah, you did think of that, and it was about to not happen. It sounds like you came this close.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, exactly, which makes it all the better.
It makes it a good story.
Yeah, and inspiring, because there's so many people who feel like they're at the bottom. I mean, I'm talking from mental health to giving up on things. Do you know what I mean? Everyone
I agree.
gets that point, and everyone's journey's different. Some are not as brutal as that. But you were that close. Yeah. Like, you were a decision away from living a completely different life now.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't think enough people look at that. They will just look at this.
Yeah, they look at success. Book. Absolutely. They look at your success.
Yeah.
I have it all the time where people go, they think it was easy. And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of luck. I've definitely had luck where I've had a great agent I've had a great publisher. Luck comes into it, and I'm never going to say it doesn't. However, it's also hard work. It's putting in the time. It's whatever, doing all the work that needs to be done. But it's definitely what's the word I'm looking for? Character building, if you can call it that. I don't like the idea of breaking, like I said before, I don't like the idea of almost breaking someone to see what they're made of, because you know what? Sometimes people will break.
Sure.
And don't just take the risk that, 9 out of 10 people will bounce back and find that little thing and find that little nugget of resilience and build themselves up, and they'll go on to do great things. And you know what? The one guy and the one woman that crumbles and falls apart is more valuable than the 10 people that pick themselves up, to me. I think that's absolutely cruel and not something I'd ever do.
Yeah, when anyone's asking me about big decisions, I'm always, my view on it is if you really don't think you can get up off the canvas, if the outcome, the worst happens, then don't do it. But if you think you can get off the canvas, and you think you can take the hit and get up, because some people don't recover.
Totally,
they
don't
recover, and then they live a life of wishful thinking, what could, what should have been, and
a life of regret, painful. They see other people's success and it hurts,
and then they can become resentful as well.
Yes, absolutely.
It's okay for that person, because,
and I do see a lot of that.
You must be on the end of it, surely. Some writers,
I am definitely.
Maybe friends.
Maybe. Well, sometimes and this is going to sound really sort of precious, but my job is hard. So the writing, oh my God, love it, can't get enough of it. What comes with the writing, and if you want to continue to write, you've got to do literary festivals. So you might be in Scunthorpe on Monday, Devon Tuesday, might get Wednesday off, Thursday Cardiff, and let me tell you, that ain't glamorous. It sounds glamorous. Walk into a room, Kit de Waal, loads of applause, then you give a talk, and then you sign books and everyone tells you how great you are. It's great. It's not great for after the 400th time. 400th time you just want to go to bed, you just want to be in your own bed. Now, I cannot say that to an author who is struggling to get published, because they would give their right arm. They would just die to have one literary festival, not 400. So you have to be very careful about acknowledging your privilege as a writer. I'm very privileged, very lucky. I've done the work, but I have had a lot of luck, and I've got a lot of, fame, if you like, from it. But yes, people can feel very, isolated from that. Like, that's never going to happen to them. And why have you got 400 literary festivals and no one's inviting me to one? How does that happen? I'm as good a writer to you. And do you know what? They are. They're as good a writer as me. I'm telling you. I've got friends who are at least as good as me. They haven't had the breaks. Sometimes they just haven't written the right book at the right time. Sometimes things haven't happened, luck, whatever. But there are people out there that are talented that haven't had the breaks.
Yeah, I'm sure. I feel privileged to, obviously I've known you for, I think it's been like 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, long time.
So I kind of, when I met you, I think you just started writing Leon, I think.
I just finished writing it.
Just finished writing it.
Just finished, but it wasn't out there.
Okay, but I've been lucky enough to witness the realities of what writing is. So I know how hard you work, basically.
Yes.
I know how much time you spend on your own in front of the typewriter.
Yes.
So like, I've got, I believe, a bit of an insight to what a real writer or
Yes.
somebody who earns a living and a career from writing.
Yes.
Like we said earlier, it's different to writing a book.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Carving out a living from what you love.
Yes,
doing.
making a living out of being a writer, there's very few people that can do it. You know, you have to do other things.
Sure.
But if you're lucky enough to actually get enough money from your books to be a writer, that's the dream. There's no doubt about it.
So good things are happening to you right now. So
very good things.
Professor Kit de Waal now.
Yes.
My Name is Leon is airing tonight.
Yes, BBC Two,
BBC
9
Two.
o'clock.
Cool. So what else is happening?
My memoir comes out on August the 16th, and that's had great press so far, really good press. It's the book of the week on Radio 4 in September. I've finished my next one. I'm writing screenplays, so I'm adapting a book by one of my heroes, Donal Ryan. I'm writing a play for the Abbey Theatre. I've just been commissioned to write a play for the Birmingham Rep. Other things, you know.
How do you have time to do anything else other than write?
No social life, Alex. No, you know, you laugh. I have no social
I'm
life.
laughing 'cause I understand.
Literally, no social life. This would count as part of my social life because I see my children once a week each, so that's twice a week. I'll have something to do, and that's seeing my kids. I maybe once a month a friend will come to stay. That's it. I don't go to the cinema. Rarely go to the cinema. Very rarely go out for a drink. Very rarely go out for a meal. So I'm not complaining, by the way. No, that's not true. I am complaining. I love work. I love my job, and I'm very lucky. But you do need to be out there in the world as well. You do need to interact with the world, and you do need to shut off and be fresh when you come to the work. And I don't often do that.
Why don't you do that? Do you just value the work more?
I value the work more, and it's also just an absence of people to do it with. I haven't got a partner. I haven't got... a lot of my friends don't live nearby, so a lot of my friends live in Ireland or London. My family similarly lives quite far away. So it's quite hard to have a social life when I count a social life as doing something with people. So if your social life is something you do on your own, let's say walking or whatever, that's fine, but that's not mine. My social life I count as going out for a meal, going out for a drink, going on holiday, going to the cinema, do you know what I mean, with someone. And really, there's no one for me to go with.
Yeah, I never really understood this whole, like, how can you be lonely if people are around you? So, like, the literary festivals that you talk about, there's probably a lot of people there, you're signing books. But I understand now, just through experience of life, really, how you can be lonely yet surrounded by people.
Yes, I definitely have bouts of loneliness. I've got such good friends. I mean, really, really good friends. Sometimes I want someone special. I want someone special, not a good friend. I've got, you know, amazing, amazing friends. And then sometimes, I'll give you an example. I went to a literary festival in Geneva. Beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. And they gave me this hotel overlooking Lake Geneva. And it was, you know, quite a journey to get there. And I get into the hotel room, fabulous, like something from a Bond film. And I open the double doors, and there's Lake Geneva with the mountains in the background, just, you know, dream. And I had no one to ring to say, I'm here, I'm at this. You know, I could have rung my sisters, blah, 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 but I wanted someone to want me to ring them, to be interested in the end of my journey and what my hotel was like, and there wasn't anyone. And I felt very lonely for the whole of that literary festival. I was there for about 3 or 4 days, because it started like that, where I thought, well, no one knows if I'm here, no one knows I've got this great hotel room, I'm not ringing anyone before I go to bed at night. And that was really quite hard. And I got over it, you know, and I've learnt to live with that. But it was unpleasant. It was an unpleasant feeling that here I am doing, you know, the peak of my career, this great thing, and no one to share it with. I think if there's a sorrow and an absence in my life, that's what it is.
It's strange. I'll talk about anything from the time I had a bit of breakdown to the saddest things I've experienced. But whenever it comes to loneliness, I clam up, and I find it really difficult to talk about.
It is hard.
It's really hard. I don't know why. It's a bit air of embarrassment.
It's embarrassing.
I had the same thing when I got to Iceland.
Yeah.
I was like, all of a sudden, I got everything I wanted. I was there. I could get up when I wanted, and then I realised, I can get when I wanted. It doesn't matter.
No.
I was like, fuck. I could get up at 6:30, 7:30, 8:30. No one gives a fuck.
No.
No one needs me.
No. That's right. That's right. And that's the thing. The other day, I had this thing where I saw my ex-husband in London. We had to talk about my son. Sorry.
That's all right.
We had to talk about my son. So we had this great conversation about my son. It was really nice to see him. We buried the hatchet completely. And we walk out of this hotel where we were having coffee, and I go to cross over the road. And my ex-husband said to me, the crossing's just there. Now, if there is a difference that epitomises me and John, it's that I will fucking cross the road wherever I like, and he will always go to the crossing. Press the button, beep, beep, beep. Wait for it. Doesn't matter if there's nothing coming. Wait for it to tell him to cross and cross. I am like dodging traffic, holding my hands up for traffic. Thanks, mate. Walk across the road. I don't give a shit. So when he went, I went, okay, so I walked to the crossing because it makes him happy. We cross over, and I'm like, as I'm walking away, I'm thinking, thank fuck I don't live with that guy. And he's probably thought exactly the same thing as he's walked away. And so, the rest of the day, I'm sort of smiling to things to myself. Yeah, it's great, it's great, it's great. And the words that were in my head were, he's not coming home, right? And I was like, he's not coming home. Isn't that great? He's not coming home. By the time I get home, because this was in London, no one's coming home. So it was great that he wasn't coming home, but no one was coming home. And it was hard, that feeling that, oh yeah, okay, it's not him, obviously, but it isn't anybody either. And that was, I felt the loss. I felt the loss of somebody in my life that wasn't going to come. I don't want to live ever want to live with anybody. Never. And that's completely genuine. But I would like someone to be coming to see me, or me going to see them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I met 2 girls in Iceland, and it only amplified my loneliness because I wasn't them I wanted to spend time with. It's really simple. It was just a reminder. And I think there's a few things you need in life. I think they always say something to get better at, like a skill.
Yes.
Just something. Experiences and love.
Yes.
And I find those first 2 I can tick off no problem.
Yes.
But getting that third one's quite tricky.
Very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Because that love has also got to allow you to do your other 2 things.
Yes.
So you can get into a relationship where all of a sudden someone wants your time. And then it takes you away from the other thing that you love, which is writing and studying. So it's like, wow, like spinning plates here.
It's really difficult. And also, you have got to be you. I've had maybe 5, 6 relationships, short-lived relationships since I got divorced, and not any of them really was I me, or wasn't going to be allowed to be me. And I would rather be on my own. I look at, I've got a number of friends, as you must have, who you look at, and they're not in good relationships, but they're in relationships.
Sure.
And they've decided to make that deal, where it's not good, but it's good enough, or I'd rather have this than be on my own, which I understand. I would rather be on my own than just have someone for the sake of having someone. I never, ever, ever want to be in the position where I don't want someone to come home, or I don't want to see someone that I'm in a relationship with.
Yeah, I think there's a time investment in a lot of relationships where people don't come out of it because they feel like they've invested a lot of time in it. Right?
Totally.
Which kind of makes sense, but it's also
it's bollocks. Yeah, get out of it. But
sure.
Also, I understand that
I've been there.
Yeah.
You may have too.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
Like, I've given it 10 years, so let's just keep going for another year or 2 and see how it
Absolutely.
goes.
And then you turn around, you're 65, and you're like, fuck. Why did I do that? I could have left when I was 50. I could have left when I was 30.
Yeah, there's some interesting podcasts lately who from some very successful guys who've said they've almost accepted now that they're willing to sacrifice that in order to follow another dream.
Yes.
And they've come to peace with it. They're not ruling out anything.
Yes.
But it probably sounds a little bit like what you're there
As
well, where you're just
totally.
like, I'm okay.
Yes.
And if something happens, Amazing.
And also, where I am at the moment is, okay, I definitely would like to meet somebody and have a relationship with someone. I don't ever, like I say, I don't want to live with anyone, but I would like to be somebody's special person. I would like a special person. So I want that, but I want it in a sort of calm way, and I have to acknowledge that that's the lack in my life. I've got so much. I've got a beautiful home. I've got beautiful children who love me. I love them. They're both happy. I've got some of the most fantastic friends ever. My brothers and sisters love me. I love them. They look out for me. Everything's right. I've got a fantastic career. Everything's right except this one thing. How many people can say that? Do you know what I mean? If that's my lack, that's my lack. You learn to live with it. You accept it and just absorb that that's the lack in your life, because that's still a really, really good outcome. And I have to acknowledge that there's not many people that can say, oh, I've got all of those other things, but I just haven't got this one thing.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a skill for me. I have to practice that, because again, I will automatically go to that piece that's missing.
Yes.
And that will become my world. Like, that's
yes.
all, I'm just lacking this. I'm lacking this.
Yes.
If I can get this, I'll be good. If I can get this, I'll be good.
Yeah.
And that can be a painful way of living as well.
Very painful way of living, and that's the striving, isn't it? When Buddhists talk about striving, so you stop looking at the lovely home and the career and the success and your health and all the rest of it, and you go, oh, yeah, but that's not there. And then you might get that and lose. What if you had that person, but the two of you were in ill health? The two of you were absolutely broken on your arse. You're doing jobs that you absolutely hate, and you've only got each other. You've got no friends between you. How long is that relationship going to last? It's not. So you've got all the other stuff, and you haven't got that one thing. Yeah,
that happens to a lot, especially guys. And I say guys mainly because I've got guy friends, and I see this happen all the time. I fall into this where you strive for something for so badly. So like, you might want a woman in your life so badly, and then when you get her, she's amazing, she's like the best thing since sliced bread kind of thing. You will grab onto that if that person's responsible for your happiness, you will grab onto them and you will pull them so tight, you will fucking suffocate them. Yeah. They will end up disliking you, and you will end up being this clingy boy.
Yes.
Yeah, and your whole world depends on them. I see it happen all the time with my friends.
Yes.
They don't have a life outside of that imaginary relationship. So it's that as well. I find that hard.
Yes.
Just to balance that. So it's all a challenge.
Everything's a challenge. It really is. I've had relationships with guys who, this, if anything, makes me run a mile. It's this. So obviously, normally they might live in another city, or they certainly live far away anyway, because that's the way I like it. I know that sounds terrible, but that's the truth. So, what are you doing on? So let's say I've seen them on Saturday, and then they'll be like, "What are you doing on Monday?" And I'll go, "Oh, I'm working." What about Tuesday? I'm like, I'm working. What about Wednesday? And I'm like, wow, are you going to go through the week? I don't like that. Don't anchor me down.
How does someone show they want to spend time with you then?
They can say, should we do this? And I'll go, yeah. And they'll go, when should we do it? When should we do it? Don't go through my fucking week, ask me what I'm doing every single day. I know it sounds really nice, but to me that's claustrophobia. I want to have this easy meld with someone, not a account for your days. What have you done? Why are you doing that? Where do I fit in? After a week. Don't know. I get it if you're now in a proper strong relationship.
Sure.
That's one thing. Someone asking to account for your time, but wow, no.
Do you know what I'm terrible at that though? Is I think people should be mind readers to me and what I want. So like what you've just mentioned, I think that's cool as long as they know.
Yes.
Because I do that all the time. Like, well, you should know what I want. So hold on. And it's the same vice versa. Men always bitch about women doing this. Like, I think I'm a mind reader.
Yeah.
I think communication's there as part of the key as well.
Totally.
I'll go in big moods because I haven't got what I wanted, but I haven't declared what I would like out of a relationship sometimes.
You want someone to just know.
Yeah, of course. You should fucking know what I want.
I'm so I'm too upfront, and I think that's why I'm not in a relationship, because I will say, I don't want that, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. And I mean, and what I say, I mean. I will say, I never want to live with anyone. This is the other thing that's going on for me. the men, I'm 62, nearly 62. If you're meeting someone of 62, it's very unlikely that they are at the peak of their career. They're much more likely on the wind down. They've got time.
Sure.
They've got hobbies. They've got space for you. I haven't got full-time space for somebody. So I'm meeting people who have got bags of time and bags of space, and they want you to fill it. And I don't want to do that.
Younger man.
No, absolutely younger man. No,
right.
it really
like you
is.
say, you're busy as hell. You just
Totally.
Younger guy.
I want someone who's in the middle of their career who says, I'll see you at the end of the month. I'm like, yes, dude.
55.
55, 50, yeah.
50.
Yeah.
49.
Perfect.
48.
Yes, maybe.
46.
That's the youngest.
45, but bang on other requirements.
Okay, 45, yeah.
I could get you down even further, I reckon. I always play this game to people. Like, all of a sudden it's 20 years old. Like,
Yeah.
oh, how did that happen?
Yeah, no, not 20, that's a child. But yeah, somebody who just has, has got some space, but they're not making me their world. I don't want to be somebody's world. I want to have this great, I know it's a fantasy, but I want to have a great relationship with someone when I see them. Don't ring me every day. Don't text me every day. Do not do that, and I won't text you. It's so lovely then when you hear from someone.
That's true.
It's so lovely. But if it's like,
no, that's true.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? To me, it feels like oppression.
Yeah, I'm not sure men are very good at showing how they feel without doing that.
No, I think women are the same.
Yeah, probably.
Completely.
Yeah, again,
and if you don't, I've had a couple of guys who I will see their text and I'm working or whatever and I don't answer it, or maybe I don't answer it till the next day. I didn't know there was this thing called leaving you on read, is it?
I don't know about the colour codes, but I guess that's a bit like...
No, it's like you've read the text.
Oh, sorry, got you.
I've read, someone can
so
see.
You can see, yeah, when
I've read the text, but you don't answer.
Guy out.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can turn that off, by the way. I'll show you.
Can you? Tell me how to turn it off. I didn't know that, you see, because I would just read the text and I go, that,
So instantly, this is what I mean, he will see this and go, she's read the message.
And
she hasn't got back to me? But she's read it.
Totally. My son said to me, Mum, you've left that guy unread. Like, you've read his text. And I was like, what does that mean? It's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing.
Aware of that one. we need to get you sorted out in this dating game. That's the first thing we need to sort
I
out.
had no idea. So this guy sends me a text. I read it. And genuinely thought, I will answer it. And I forgot to answer it. And I got another text from him. Are you okay? And I read it. I forgot about the first text. And I was like, what does he mean? I'm okay. Of course I'm okay. And I thought, I'll answer that in a bit. But I don't then get the chance to answer it because the third text has arrived now and he's fucked off with me. And I was like, dude, where's this come from?
Yeah, that are you okay just means why haven't you replied to my text message? But in his head, he would have created a big story.
Totally.
So he won't even think, she might be busy, she'll go back to there. That's what I would do. I wouldn't even think that.
That's exactly what he was doing.
I would just think, because I'm the most important thing in the world, why hasn't she replied to me?
Yeah.
It's all about me.
It was a mystery to me. I was really shocked that he was annoyed, really shocked, because I had no ill feelings whatsoever. I wasn't thinking, I'll answer that later. I was thinking, I will answer that, just not right now.
Yeah, I'm not shocked in the slightest.
I was really surprised.
Different games.
It's a text world. It's not my world.
Men can get quite, and they don't know how to show that they care about someone, so they get desperate and clingy like that.
Yeah, and very fast annoyed.
But and angry and annoyed.
Really annoyed.
It all goes back to childhood stuff, I'm sure. Rejection.
Yes.
Men hate getting rejected.
Yeah.
It's painful. The thing with dating world is that if you're a single guy, it's expected that you're the one, like, especially in a bar environment.
Yes.
So you're going to get on the end of more rejections. Getting rejected, it's like the book there. If you keep getting rejected,
oh, it must be terrible.
It's not nice. I've got to admit.
No.
It puts, it's like being kicked when you're down, kind of thing. But there's ways to, like, exactly the analogy of, like, with your agent. There's ways to reject people that are okay.
Yes.
If someone says,
you leave someone with their dignity.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get that bitch look where it's like, who the fuck do you think you are? I hate that.
Oh my God.
It's the most cripply. It's like you've been stamped on.
Terrible.
And then grinded. Yeah. It's painful.
It is painful, and I suppose it stops people doing anything about it. It stops people asking.
People should be nicer to each other. I definitely think that. Like, I'm always flattered if anyone shows me any kind of attention.
Yeah.
If I'm not injured, I still get. It's just nice.
Totally.
Someone thinks I'm worthy of being asked or whatever.
I remember people always say this to me. Look, how can you be single? You go to all these literary festivals where everyone thinks you're great, 300 people in the audience, and then a signing queue of 50 people. How is it you've never been asked out? Let me tell you, one person's asked me out in 7 years. He was, let's be kind, 65. He had on an acrylic jumper with egg on it, a car coat, plastic shoes that fastened with Velcro, and a comb over.
But he had some balls.
He had some balls. And he came up to me and he waited till, so he was last in the signing queue for me to sign his book. And he said, what are you doing? Sorry, this was in Limerick. And he said, what are you doing? Have you seen the Milk Market, which is this beautiful old market in Limerick? Have you seen the Milk Market? And I said, I have seen the Milk Market, and I'm doing something. He said, I'd like to show you the Milk Market. I'd like to take you there. And I was like, wow, dude, it was so lovely. Do you know what I mean? There was no, he wasn't being fresh. He wasn't being, overtly sexual or anything. He just had this sort of quiet confidence about him, which did not come from his looks, let me tell you. But he had this quiet confidence that why wouldn't she say yes? Do you know what I mean? And I was really nice. I just went, no, because I thought, I'm never going to go out with this guy. But it was really lovely. It's the only time it's ever happened.
Yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah.
First dates are hard as well, because I always give my very best on the first date.
Yes.
And they go well, and I thought I was good at first dates, but they actually backfire, because I'm always trying to pretend that I'm like better than what I am.
Right.
Funnier than what I am.
Yes.
Better, do you know what I mean? Whereas if I just went in it myself, I'd probably have more drop-off rate.
Yes,
But,
but you'd be yourself, and they would be meeting you.
Yeah.
You're not going to disappoint. You're not going to change. Yeah, but don't we all do it?
I think so.
I think we all do.
Unless you're that cool with yourself that, like, where you can get to a stage where, like you're saying, I'm okay on my own, but if I meet someone great, so
yes.
I can go into this date with no attachment to outcome, I can just be myself. But again, that goes back to, are you comfortable with who you are? Because if you're not, boom, all these psyches come up and we'll create this person.
Yes.
And then that's when you get to the point where you don't know who the fuck you are anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're...
Work, this person
exactly.
This person here, you're like, who the fuck am I?
Yeah, and you have to integrate all of those people into one.
Yes, well, I think that's what everyone who goes through life starts to want to do as a goal. They want to integrate and become, that true
whole
identity. Yeah.
Yes.
Who am I, and then who will love me for who I am.
Yeah. Also, I don't think there's anything wrong with the code switching, it's called, where if you're with your mates, let's say your mates, you're really good friends, I bet you've got a different vocabulary, slightly different voice, you're slightly different. And then if you're with your mom and your sister, you're slightly different. And then if you're at work here, you've got a slightly different vocabulary, slightly different way of talking. Now, everyone does that.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's when because we all have, like diamonds, different facets. There's a bit more of this in this Alex, and there's a bit more of that. And then there's the very few people usually where you're all of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You're all of these people, and they completely integrate into this one person.
No, I understand that. I think, so that's a great example. So you're right, I'm totally different with my mates. The language, the C-bomb comes out, everything when I'm with my mates. When I'm with my mum and sister and dad, totally different. However, I think what caused me the most pain was when I was like kind with my mates, unkind when I was around my mum and dad. So I believe you can have certain traits across all boards.
Of course.
Because you want to be kind.
Totally.
Whether it's the
whoever
cleaner or the CEO.
Totally.
That's kind of where I want to get to.
Yes.
But you're right, where you can kind of show up slightly differently.
Absolutely.
Those true characteristics.
I'm Irish, I'm African Caribbean, I'm a Brummie, I'm a professor, I'm lower working class, immigrant class. But I mix with a lot of, certainly I was a magistrate, I used to work with barristers and QCs and judges all the time. So I've got like 7 vocabularies. What I would say to my black friends is a different vocabulary completely,
sure.
Different sentence structure. Do you go up at the end of the sentence or down at the end of the sentence? Do you, and with all of my friends, I can go out with some of my friends and all we do is talk about curtains and home furnishings. I love it. I want to do that. And then I can go and talk, academic thought or whatever with somebody else, and I love that too. And it's about having spaces to be all those people, which I think is really important. And as you say, across the board, is this one respect for human dignity. You know, you're not going to be a bitch and a snob and deny yourself or whatever in all these different spaces. You have this one baseline of behaviour and baseline of who you are.
Absolutely. What's scary is how that can fall out of sync sometimes.
Yes.
So I used to be, like I say, like really horrible in some, like really horrible, especially in relationships when like jealousy got involved. So I was jealous, which meant I was angry, which meant I was nasty.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, like I'm doing some of the nicest things I could ever do, like, you know, some small things, subtle things that genuinely like make people's lives better.
Yes.
And I couldn't work out the polars. I was like, which one am I?
Yes.
Then I realised like I put them in, I can be all of them. So
Yes.
now I have to decide and train myself to be the one that I want to be.
Yes.
This is why I understand the whole like everybody could have been like a Nazi thing. I really truly get
Yes, completely.
like environment, products of where you were grown up, the values that were rammed into you.
Yeah.
Like, I believe we can all be truly ugly at times if we want to be, or if the circumstances are right.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that. I think, you know, it's very easy to point the finger at, you know, certainly when I was working in criminal law, I met a lot of murderers and rapists and really bad guys
Yeah.
and good people at the same time.
Yeah, I have empathy now for a lot of these criminals. That like, I don't say it too broadly because people will be like, "What do you mean you have empathy?" But one like, hold on, let's rewind and see how they were treated.
Yes.
When
Yes.
they were young, because I don't believe anyone wants to be that.
No.
But I can understand how people become that.
Yeah, totally. Environment, the damage that's done to
Yeah.
people, circumstances. You know, you mentioned yourself how angry you can get with a girlfriend or
Sure.
whatever. You're a strong, tough guy.
Yeah.
All it takes is the wrong set of circumstances. Do you know what I mean? You've had a shit day. This has happened. That happened. She comes home and she says, "I'm seeing someone else," and you could just. And then you've hit her in the face. She's fallen over. She's killed herself. Bam, manslaughter. I've seen this case many, many times when I worked in criminal law and as a magistrate. And you're not a bad person, but the circumstances conspired against you on that particular day that under normal circumstances would never have happened.
I know, I believe that, and I see it with drink driving all the time. Like
Yes.
1 pint too many. Like how many good people have driven over?
Totally.
I know, but if you kill someone, you're not a good person.
No,
You're a piece of shit.
No,
it's
and
like,
you've gone to
whoa.
prison. Yeah.
It's pretty ruthless.
And you've got to live with yourself. I mean, it's really bad
Yeah.
what's happened to everyone else, but you're living with that
Yeah.
for the rest of your life. Very, very difficult.
Should we wrap up with a couple of questions that
Yes.
are traditional to the Better Man podcast?
Yes, definitely.
I've loved chatting to you, by the way.
I've loved it. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know where we've ended up on relationships and all sorts. I don't know where that went. But so 2 questions I always ask like to end on this. I always like to just ask what's next for Kit de Waal. Like, what's upcoming for you?
I'm really, really trying very hard to take my health seriously as I take my work, and to find a social life.
Cool. I can help with that. We should go out one night.
Yes, definitely.
And then obviously being the Better Man podcast, I always ask the guys that come on, but this is very relevant to every guest that I speak to. What does Kit de Waal need to work on now to become a better human being and person?
Wow. Stillness.
Okay.
So I need to be much more still and not what's next. I do a lot of that what's next, and it's got me far. But actually there's some value in being still and being really content with what I've got. Stop going for the next thing.
Okay. How do you find the value in that? Where do you find the value in that? How can you convince yourself there's value in it?
I don't need to convince myself. I need to just stop fucking about and stop striving for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and go, are you going to enjoy the garden that you had spent £30,000 on?
Which is fucking amazing, by the way.
Do you know, it's beautiful. But am I ever going to sit in it, or am I just going to take a photograph for Instagram? Sit in the fucking garden and love the garden and be there.
Yeah. I did that. I'm planning a water feature in the corner of my garden with a nice table and chairs.
Yeah.
And just like you just said then, just clicked to me. I was like, but are you actually going to
sit in it
and be there in it?
Exactly. Be there. Or is it for show? Is that for your Instagram? Or are you going to, enjoy sitting there and feel the calmness and look at the beautiful flowers? Or you go, right, I've got done my garden now. What about that? What about that? Shall I change my car? That striving is very damaging, I feel, to me. And I want to stop it.
I think that can be said for anything that you do.
Yes.
anything that you do. I've been really questioning this hard this year. Like, why am I posting this? Why am I
Yes.
doing this? Why am I doing that?
Yes.
And often I've stopped myself from doing it because there's no value to me
No.
except the external rewards that someone is going to give me.
Totally. How many likes have you got for your garden
Yeah.
photograph?
It's bullshit, isn't it?
Bullshit.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for inspiring me. I probably wouldn't be doing my own little writing if it wasn't for you now. Still, just from hearing your stories of continued struggle and success all mixed up in one strange reality of life. So thank you.
Thank you very
Cool.
much.